In this video we're going to create our league table, as you can see on the screen right now. Because of the way that we've created our SQL structure, this is actually going to be relatively straightforward to do. If we jump across to our SQL editor right away, we can begin by selecting every distinct record. We're going to select the team name from our team table. I'm just going to call it team name. We're then going to have a couple of embedded SQL statements, which are going to be a couple of levels deep each. So the first one is we're going to select the count from results raw, where our home ID is equal to team ID and the home points are equal to 3. We're going to copy that across and add 2 of these together, and we're going to change the second version to be the away team. And we're going to output this as a title column called win. We're then basically going to copy this entire nested statement and we're going to look for the same instances but where the score is 1. And we're going to call this column draw. We're going to replicate this again, change this to 0, and we're going to call this column lose. So these 3 columns are going to give us the number of times our team has won, number of times our team has drawn, and the number of times our team has lost. We're then going to create another nested statement. This time we're going to select the count from results raw where the home team ID is equal to the team ID or the away team ID is equal to the team ID. And we're going to call this column played. So this will be the total number of games that a specific team has actually played. So next up we're going to create another nested statement. This time we're going to select the sum of home goals for from the results raw table where the home team ID is equal to the team ID. We're going to copy and paste this, and we're going to do the same for the away team. And we're going to call this column GF, which stands for goals for. I'm going to copy this entire statement again. This time we're going to call it goals against GA. And we're basically just going to swap the home and away in this first sum section. Next up, we're going to calculate the difference between these two, the goals for and the goals against. So yet another nested statement. And the easy way to do this is to just copy and paste. So we'll have that entire section minus that entire section. And this is going to be called GD, or goal difference. We're then going to calculate the actual points a team has with one more nested statement. So this time we're going to select the sum of home points from the results row table, where the home team ID is equal to the team ID. And we're going to add that to the away points from results row table, where the away team ID is equal to the team ID, and that's going to be called points. All of this is going to be selected from the team table, as well as being interjoined with the results table. And we're going to join on the team ID being equal to the results home team ID, or the team ID being equal to the results away team ID, and these should be results row, both of them. We're then going to order by the points, which is going to be in descending order, then the goal difference, which will also be in descending order, and the goals for, which will be in descending order, and the goals against, which will also be in descending order. So if we execute this command now, it should hopefully work, and it didn't. These home points should be home points and away points, not home team points and away team points. So if we try this again, oh, of course this should be joining to the results raw table. So now it's going to give us our output, and everything that we would expect to find within our output is already there for us. All of the calculations are already done, and there's nothing that we actually need to do with this other than actually output it onto the screen. So we can save this as a view, and we're going to call this full table. And so if we select all from full table, it will work straight away for us. So I've just gone ahead and opened up the index model, the index controller, and the index view. In our index model, or rather in our index controller, we're going to want to create a variable in our view from our model. So the method that we're going to create in our model is going to be called getTableData, and we're going to save this in a variable called TableData within the view. So if we go across to our index model, we can create this public function table data. And the functionality that we're going to use is almost identical to that which we used for our goal scorer output. And so for a lot of this, I'm just going to copy all of the functionality across from the goal scorer view itself. So we actually instantiated this by creating it within our Stretch League library. So we'll do the same again here. So if we go across to our Stretch League library, we basically want to mimic this. We're not going to have any limitations on this because there's no occasions where we actually need to limit it. All we need to do is select everything from the full table and return that to ourselves, which will then be passed across to the model, which will return it to the controller, assign it to the table data, and we'll access it from in here. So to check that everything's working, we're just going to echo that out. And we're just going to kill the script as well after this, so that we can actually check that it's output properly. So if we just refresh our page, you can see that we've got all of this information, which has been output in exactly the same way as we would expect it, because it's basically mimicking the functionality of the goal scorers. So the next thing that we want to do is to create our custom element. And again, because we have most of the functionality already in existence within our goal scorer attribute, we're just going to copy this across, and we're going to call this full table. Within our player section where we output this, I'm just going to copy the actual code across. So I'll delete that output that was just there for testing. And we're going to rename this to full output, oh sorry, full table. And because we have created our new element, we can just go ahead and create all of the relevant sections here. So we're going to rename it full table. We're going to have table as our attribute. At the very bottom we need to rename this to full table, as well as this to table. So if we use our existing table as a guide, we can actually save ourselves some time. We're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 outputs. And we're going to output them in this order. So we're going to have the team name, played, GA, GD, oh sorry, that's going to be 1, draw, sorry, win, draw and lose. We're then going to have the goals for, goals against, and goal difference. Finally, we're going to have the points. So if we go back to our page now and refresh, we've got our table, but it's not actually outputting the results properly. And we of course need to change player data here to table data. So if we refresh again, we get all of our output correctly formatted. So at the top here we have the current positions as at. So I'll delete this table and then we'll add this line back in. So to delete that table, just delete out all of that. We then need to add in our header again. And the way we're going to do this is to actually pass across another element, another attribute, sorry. And we're going to call this valid at. And so what we're going to do is echo out the time, or sorry, the date that this is actually being run. And so this will be D M Y. So if we refresh again, this table at the bottom has disappeared, but we obviously not put that in correctly. And so the reason is that we basically haven't created the element, the attribute, up here. So now that we've created that, we can save that and go back across, refresh, and our data is showing up correctly. So the next thing that we're going to focus on is this navigation section. It's not very dynamic, and at the moment there's not all of the links that we're going to need, and some of the links like the team profile aren't going to actually work for us anymore because of the way that we've actually programmed our code. Now that I can see this table, I can see that it would also be useful to actually have the names of the teams as links, like we have in our results sections and our fixtures sections. So all I'm going to do is quickly change that across. So if we go back to our full table style, all we have to do is to add a ref and if we go back across and refresh this page now, all of these pages will link across, which also highlights the fact that we also need to style these. So to style them, all I'm going to do is go and steal the style from one of our other elements. And now they're styled properly. And of course they all work, which is always a good sign. So at the moment we're more or less done with all of the output displays within our program. So the next thing we're going to do is focus on this navigation section. We're going to make sure all of the specific sections that we want to link to are displayed properly, and remove things like this team profile link, because this no longer works. Because of the way that we've set up our team profile page, if the actual team name isn't specified in the URL, it's going to redirect us to the league table homepage anyway. So we'll do that in our next video, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. So if we refresh our page again, we're going to see mostly the correct information. We want to hide this team section now because we don't have any information in here. And so what we can do is within our navigation section,